back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we take a midweek break to stop talking about gaming and bring you the latest Linux news in under 30 minutes or more. And this week is no exception because the Ryzen 5 lineup and the dates have been leaked, and it kind of turns out that you're going to get what you pay for. And somebody turned their Raspberry Pi into a motion-detecting spy cam in order to catch a Bikey man.
Was he from a Bikey gang? Well, Firefox nopes the NP API, this time for real, you guys, but Flash ain't going nowhere. And Eben Upton tucks Raspberry Pi 4, and by talking, he says they're nowhere near here yet.
And the Purism team is still working on removing every bit of proprietary code from their laptops, and this time they got rid of the Intel management engine. Also, Vive hired one of the most venerable X11 maintainers to help them with PR and stuff. That's right, the one and only Case Packard.
That's frightening. That's terrifying. But let's start off with this, P-Man.
Indeed. So, yeah, this is, as I mentioned, Firefox noping all of the NP API stuff. With starting with version 52, Firefox added the WebAssembly compatibility and a couple of other stuff. WebAssembly, basically, it's a low-level API that will let you run games and a bunch of other stuff at a lower level, which means better performance, lower latency, just a better experience all around. Now, as a sort of side effect of that, they had to get rid of some of the old Netscape stuff, including the NP APIs, except for Flash, because for some reason, Flash is still around. If you're going to nope the old API, and by all means do so, go full metal scorched earth policy on that thing and just nuke Flash. Let people who want Flash and the rest of the NP API stuff just use the extended support version, the ESR, Firefox ESR. Just let them use that.
Or they could have gone with the PP API, the one that Chrome uses. At least there would be only one version, and Adobe wouldn't need to maintain both. So that would be a good solution. So yeah, I don't see why they would keep that around. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what stuff will be built with the WebAssembly stuff. This looks really interesting, like almost native speed, like for 3D and stuff. This is going to have some good uses in the future. So
yeah,
right
and
now,
the biggest thing that goes away with NP API is Google Hangouts support. Yes, if you like to use Google Hangouts, you can't use them in Firefox anymore. Yeah,
that's not right now.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say yes, I mean, it's definitely just like not right now. It's definitely a thing that we learned Saturday when we started up our return video with a virtual camera. It turns out, 52 no longer works with the Hangouts, and you do have to use the ESR channel if you want to get that functionality back, which it still continues to warn you that it's going away. But,
yeah, so Google has some plans to replace Hangouts with something. Well, right now it's for enterprise users. But they're building a product that will be a competitor to Slack. And yeah, right now it doesn't have any effects on regular Hangouts users, but they will update the normal Hangouts and it will use WebRTC. So it will work out of the box in Chrome.
Why they still need that extra plugin right now is beyond me.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. We're running a bit long on this, and listen, Googs, I love you. You got a long history of nerfing products for sports, son. And, you mix that in with the fact that you kind of missed out on the Slack trade and kind of went by. I don't really see, little if no interest in the enterprise Hangouts thing for this. But coming up next, Booga Booga.
Yeah, so Purism, we talk about them. They build laptops that are completely Libre. They remove any firmware or binary blob in the kernel or in the hardware itself. And this time they did go a bit further and remove something called the management engine from Intel. So the management engine, I didn't know what it was, but it's kind of neat and creepy at the same time because it allows people to get access to the machine even if it doesn't have any operating system, even if it's in like a standby mode, it can access the machine and everything and over the network or I mean, it doesn't need any, I don't know, I mean, it does need special software to access it, but once you have that software, you can
it's basically the backdoor, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's a backdoor, and it's something meant to support computers to repair them from like remotely and stuff like this. So it's kind of neat, but having that enabled is also like could be creepy. I mean, it could allow some people to have access to your machines. So
yeah.
Purism, they removed all of it. I mean, they used a simple like Python script to remove it, and it's quite interesting to see how it works. I mean, it's really like precision surgery on the CPU code.
Yeah, and it's what they did was pretty cool. In the article, they also mentioned the fact that they want to get rid of the microcode that you need in order to run an Intel processor, because you still need a little bit of Intel microcode in order to be able to use a regular Intel processor to its most, let's say, to get the best possible performance. Now, getting rid of that is all well and good in the freedom aspect, not so for performance. If you do get rid of that proprietary microcode, you will need to code an open source version of it. And that's an endeavor. Good luck with that.
Well, the microcode is basically updates for your CPU. So if you buy a new CPU, chances are that it won't require microcode because it hasn't been patched yet. But as time will go on, and you will probably not need it, but it will maybe fix some stuff. So the CPU you buy already has some kind of code running in it. So you already have this like binary blob shipping with you.
You do.
Well, look, listen, at least now that you have the option to rip it out so you can fire up Steam and play your closed source DRM riddled games. But speaking of CPUs, that's right. I think it was Guru 3D that accidentally, air quotes around that, released the article a day early. But someone got all the screen grabs, and we're talking about the AMD Ryzen 5 lineup and dates. 6-core, 12-thread, 4-core, 8-thread. Let's see, we got the 1600X, and they're going to compare that against a i5 6700, and they're saying it's about 69% faster
not in games.
Well, we don't know. I mean, they've got their motherboard lineups, but what everyone really wants to know is pricing. Starting on April 11th, the 1400, the 4-core 8-thread part 169, 4-core 8-thread 1500X 189, 1600 6-core 12-thread 219, and the king of the budget hill, the 1600X 6-core 12-thread at 3.6. Man, that would have been different. Gigajoules. 4 for the max at 249. Kind of looking at this, a little bit of excitement maybe, but I'm not getting premature because show me those benchmarks. They're definitely comparing the 1600X performance to the i5, as I said, which is about 20% faster than the current 8150 right now, powering the box of business and single-threaded performance. So, yeah, definitely wait for those benchmarks. And no, kids, no, these were not the droids you're looking for. They're not going to be faster in gaming. Because if that were the case, AMD would have plastered the walls with this business.
Yep.
Yeah, right now, I was wondering what was that benchmark they were showing, like with the i5 and the...
It's called numbers. The numbers benchmark.
No, it's written really small, and it's the good old Cinebench. They keep using Cinebench because the Ryzen is really good with Cinebench. So
it's the hottest video game right now. Don't you know?
Right
yeah,
now.
Exactly.
Hey, man, I definitely hope for the best for this. I'm going to sit back and wait because I would like, the 6-core 12-thread. If I can get, let's be optimistic and say a 50% performance boost over the 8150 for under 300 watt stinky caches, you probably got me sold on that AMD. You probably do.
I know. If you need a Ryzen processor right now for whatever reason, the 1700, not the X version, just the regular 1700 is the price performance champion, unless you're gaming. Because if you're gaming, yeah, you're still looking at that very same i5 7600K they compared it against.
So yeah, I mean, we don't do gaming here.
No. But we do more chipsec Ooga Booga security stuff.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Literally.
So this tool, it's still a bit unclear what it does exactly, but it's kind of similar to the thing we were talking about earlier, the Intel management engine. So this is also from Intel, but less creepy because it's all open source and Python code, so a bit more friendlier. But what it does, it's a bit similar in that it will allow you to access some of the innards of your machine, like the BIOS stuff. Like it can run from the UEFI shell, and it will give you access to all of your hardware and stuff like this.
Wait, will a tool like this tell me whether or not the government's stealing my megahertz?
It might be able to. I mean, I don't know the full extent of the features this stuff has, but it
will at least let you know, or maybe it will let you know, because again, I haven't tested it. What exactly kind of performance issues you may be looking at in your system at the firmware level. And that's really what this is aimed at. It's basically firmware stuff. And they're still updating it. I like these projects, even though this one comes from Intel, so you kind of twist my nose at that. But it's good to see that it's still getting updates at the very least. And I will need someone who is watching / listening right now to try and run this and let us know whether or not this works properly. Maybe.
And completely just ignore the big warning on it that basically says, it'll curb check your system if you look at it
production.
wrong.
That's right. I mean,
don't use it in production.
Okay, no. Do not use this in
Up
production.
next,
okay.
Mate.
This one you can actually use in production, maybe, depending on what you're doing. This is maybe 118, and this is just an update for the Mate desktop environment. Now, we had already talked about version 116 when it first came out because they introduced GTK 3 support. With Mate 180, outside of all of the new functionality and the staggering amount of fixes that they brought in, Martin Wimpress tells us that everything included with the Mate desktop is now running GTK 3, which is good. I mean, let's face it, framework wars aside, this is the best version of GTK 3 in terms of future-proofing, especially since, Mir is totally coming, right, you guys?
Next week, man. Next week, I get it.
Yeah. So, in a more serious note, you're not going to get Mate 118 if you're running 1604. Like me, I am running Ubuntu Mate 1604. You won't be able to get it officially. You may, if you're brave enough, you can compile it and try and run it yourself. According to Martin Wimpress, I actually poked him a little earlier today, and he said, in order to support everything on 1604 and bring in this new fangled GTK 3 support for everything Mate, it would compromise stability and basically the whole LTS concept, as it were. And the only way they had to not do that was to spend a bunch of time, that was an ambulance, spend a bunch of time trying to figure out exactly what they would need to do. So that would be far too much work to get done in a reasonable amount of time. So if you're running the LTS, you don't get 118.
Of course. I mean, makes sense to me. I mean, I wonder why you would want to run the very latest desktop on your good old LTS distribution.
Because it makes you so angry, and I'm a simple man.
mostly to poke fun at you, Strider.
You run an old distro, you expect to run old software on it, and if you want newer software, you run the very latest, and that's the good thing. This new Mate version, it ships right in time to ship with Ubuntu Mate 1704, which will be out in a couple of weeks. So if you want to run this, the recommended way is to run just 1704, which will be, I mean, I've never had any issues running non-LTS version of Ubuntu. Some people have had less luck than me, but
I am willing your box to crash right now. And this would...
no, I mean, this is some good stuff, and don't go like messing around with your LTS distribution if you use one by patching it and putting a bunch of PPAs and stuff like this, because this won't be an LTS anymore if you do that. I mean, you can, but
okay,
it's
that's definitely a thing. I mean, where you could just pull it and build it from source and install it on anything. So, way back when, I remember when Wolfram Alpha came out, and I was like, oh, by that time, Google was already a verb, and I was like, please let Wolfram turn into a verb. I want people to say, I'm going to Wolfram something. Stick with me, because the name of this next thing is called Rambox, which I also want to become a verb. Definitely. I want to Rambox something.
Rambox it.
Free open source cross-platform messaging and emailing app that combines all the things. All will be different. ... Man, this has support for, yes, all the things. Skype, Hangouts, AOL Messenger, stuff I didn't know existed. Gmail, ICQ. Wow. Okay. Who remembers their number?
AIM. Yeah.
Is Discord? I'm sure Discord's in here. I see an F. Maybe that's a Facebook. LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's
Tweet,
Twitter messaging. There's Facebook messaging. There's Discord, Telegram, Facebook messaging, WhatsApp.
Man, I'm going to have to get you a
Hangouts,
bite-sized
Gmail.
Snickers. Jesus.
Yeah, it supports literally everything. And Strider, I think we covered something like this.
We did. A few months ago, we talked about an app. So I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, me neither.
We covered something that was exactly the same thing, maybe with a bit, with less services enabled. But what it does, it's an Electron app that will open tabs for each service. Mm-hmm. So it's all it does.
79 services. Add more services manually to answer Katie Doobie, however that is done in there. But if you want to check this out, like everything we've mentioned, it is in our wicked detailed show notes, and you can find that at linuxgamecast.com. Don't ask us why. It's definitely a thing. But hey, man, let's test out some new Linux distros.
So new Linux distros. So this, what it does, it's called Chumbox. And what it allows you to do is open a console terminal to a bunch of different Linux distros. So you have the choice between Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, CentOS, Arch Linux, and OpenSUSE. And without setting up anything, you just have to click one checkbox and click Launch, and it will give you access to a containerized shell. So I couldn't really try it because it didn't work. I think it was a bit too successful, so the service might be overloaded right now. But this is some very good stuff. I mean, I could use this because I need to do some packaging sometimes, and I need to do some testing on some distribution, and need to know if a script is available, like, for example, in Fedora, OpenSUSE. And I need to know the name of a package and some distribution. I could use it for this purpose, but I mean, right now, no dice. I mean, I can't have anything. I just see a black screen.
Well, it's definitely a tool. It's a thing with no GUI. I think you've actually found a legitimate use case for it, for testing against it, because my first thought was like, oh yes, let's take a Linux newbie and dump them in the CLI and say have at, and though that's definitely going to get them interesting. Not, but
just an update. It works now.
Okay, it does work now.
Okay,
yes,
you
it does
check
work
that
now.
out. Looks like somebody snuck gaming news in our Wednesday show.
I kind of did that because we always have that rogue story about gaming in Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, and this one comes from Pierre-Luc Griffet, and he is a coder for Valve, according to his Twitter description. He actually works at Valve. If you ever submitted a bug to the Steam GitHub, not GitHub, he's usually one of the people working for Valve that goes, okay, this is an issue. We might need to get someone on that. And he is usually pretty active in the community. So he went to Twitter and said, welcome Keith B to the team. Our open graphics group is now 5 strong, but still hiring. Shader compiler performance people especially wanted. And then Andrew E right below in the comments says, Keith B like X11's Keith Packard? Yep, the one and only. So basically, this is Valve. For all the flack we give them on that Saturday show that Ven, I, and usually Jordan do, it's there. For all the flack we give them, they're still very much playing and paying for this whole Linux as a gaming platform thing.
No. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Remember, like 2 weeks ago, the Windows, like, we're doing this Windows Store thing again?
Yep.
I don't know. Am I putting the wrong
I'm guessing Valve has a renewed interest in Linux as a gaming platform.
Gabe Medicine out of email. He's like, all right, let's get some more Linux people. We got to at least scare them back into submission.
And that involves not just the games and the Steam client, but also hiring people to work on the operating system itself and improve stuff around. And the one thing Valve also announced recently was Steam VR for Linux. And that's exactly what Keith Packard is going to be doing. They brought him in from X11, and he's just going to work on the head-mounted display stuff that Valve needs to get working in order for the HTC Vive to work properly, on the Linuxes. What I really, really want to come out from this is a Vulkan replacement for GLX, so I can have a Vulkan compositor. Yes!
Mm-hmm. So this is a very good acquisition by the part of, like, from Valve, because Keith Packard is like a grand guru of X11. I mean, he's done the same thing for display servers that what Ryan Gordon did to video games on Linux. So yeah, I mean, this is major. This is a major thing for Valve, because if they have any issues, they might fix display servers for the gaming, all the gaming stuff. All is wrong with gaming, and this might have implications in the future, even for Wayland.
Well, I mean, this is definitely all to be seen, because A, if you get the call from Valve, you gotta go. But B, a lot of people have big difficulties adjusting to work at Valve, because you're like, do what you want, and kind of get back to us. That has happened. But that's the end of our discussion segment. Who do we think this week? Ting, or a mattress company, or
absolutely nobody but the very, very awesome people who kick us a few shekels every now and again. Yes, we have, for some reason, a lot of irresponsible people giving us monies.
We're not irresponsible. They're helping us fight the good fight, helping us fight the war, get the word out about the penguins and the Tux and the Linux and the games.
Indeed. So if you would like to be one of those awesome people, you can go to linuxgamecast.com/support, or just hit the support button in the nav bar, and you have a multitude of different ways to support us. You can have your Amazon affiliate links, you can give us a one-time donation on the PayPals, but if you'd like to throw a bit of a recurring dosh our way, woohoo! We're up to 99! Patreon.com/LinuxGamecast. We're up to $178 a week. That's awesome. 99 Patreons. And if you do kick us a few shekels over there, you get access to some stuff, namely show notes.
We got show notes. We got a brand new pre-shows in every week. That's an extra hour of stuff. And we're doing 2 live streams because we extra a week. They're not all going to be gaming. We got some other stuff planned. That was at 175. We've kind of jumped past that. We're currently at 178, heading to that 200 goal where Jordan, from our Saturday show, ends up having to play Serious Sam 3 because he really doesn't like it.
He loves
We're going to be able to bring people, Patreons, in to come play with us. So do you hear that, Mr. Svengerson? That's the sound of an ability. But beautiful people, Sildat decided to come in. He's kicking us some show note access, because that's one of the things. That's one of the Patreon tiers you can throw at our face organs, and those will be coming out later today. I just want to thank him, and he's actually got a little thing, but it's going to be on our Saturday show that we also do. So you get 2 for the price of 1. It's kind of brilliant. And thanks again to everyone in chat realm right now who's also supporting us. Too many to name, actually, and it's kind of brilliant. You know we love you. Yeah. But, nom nom nom.
Let's get some slice of pie. And this week, the very first slice goes from, well, Mr. Raspberry Pi himself, Eben Upton. And he was asked about the Raspberry Pi 4. And to find folks at IT Pro, don't worry, there'll be a link in the show notes. They did a bit of an interview and they asked him, so when's the Raspberry Pi 4 going to come around? And he said, well, it's not going to be anytime soon. Right now, according to him anyway, they have an issue getting thermals right with even the Raspberry Pi 3, which, all things considered, and I didn't actually know this, it is a 40 nanometer process SoC. Now, to give you a bit of a comparison on that, the FX8370E AMD processor I'm running on this box right now is a 32 nanometer processor. And the 1080 is a 16 nanometer FinFET process. The Haswell processor on my
be realistic though. You're not going to be packing 20 nanometers in a package for $30, son.
Yeah, you're not, and that's the thing. But he was talking about thermals. And I'm thinking, okay, phones and tablets, they have 14 nanometers and 16 nanometer process SoCs in them, and they don't really have that big an issue with thermals. So in my internet dumbass opinion, because I am an internet dumbass, the biggest issue is manufacturing costs for those smaller processes.
Well, that's definitely a thing. And I mean, with the thermals, we don't need like a Hyper 212. We can make like a little mini Hyper 12.
Yeah,
and just
even one of those passive ones.
It'll be adorable.
They already sell those at the Raspberry Pi shop. But there are several factors here. There's the price to manufacture those CPUs. There's the heat generated, and also the power consumption, because you want the device to be able to be powered by regular USB
5 volt
converter. Yeah, 5 volts. Yeah. And I mean, the current one, like the Raspberry Pi 3, you already need 2.5 amps of power. So that's already quite a lot.
That's a thick USB cord is what that is, right?
Yeah, it's a thick USB cord, and if you're trying to, say, power it off a PC, you need a USB 3.0 at least.
Okay, so what's this about, man? Tiny little $6. Shots fired.
A new, I'd say it's a competitor for the Raspberry Pi Zero. And what it is, it's an even smaller version of the Pi Zero, named the Lychee Pi Zero. And it costs $6, and it's not completed yet. It's still in a prototype stage.
Right, and for the crowdfunding, they're saying you get to get 2 boards to get them for $6 a piece.
Yeah, so you have to pay $12 and you get 2 of them, it's a pretty good deal. What I was interested in is like, okay, you have the small board with the CPU and all that stuff. But what's really interesting is that it has all these different modules you can plug in. So, for example, you can use, there is this connector at the end where you can plug in a whole bunch of stuff like VGA, HDMI, like all the displays, like TFT, all the different displays you can think of.
And of course it runs Doom, because, yes.
You can run Doom on it. You can plug in a camera. You can plug in, there's a Wi-Fi card. You can plug in the SD card slots. There's also some kind of dock with Ethernet and Ethernet, all kind of like extensions. So in the end, if you got everything plugged in together, it becomes a real monster with like all these devices plugged in together. You can even have like a controller, TFT. I mean, it gets crazy because you start with this very tiny $6 CPU, and you end up with
kind of like the brains behind the pocket chip. I can't remember its name.
That's definitely a thing with the modules. We got to run through this real quick, though. So it's basically going to have all the dongles and add-ons that it would take to make a MacBook Pro usable these days, right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Let's rush through this. Thief caught by Raspberry camera. They didn't put a source on this, and I just ran across it. So allegedly, dude
set up a Raspberry Pi. Yeah.
Raspberry Pi, caught a bad guy, put it through his peeps hole, and he found the guy because he turned his Pi into a motion detector camera, which the bad guy is wearing all black. And the dude tried to steal his bike, but only got away with some batteries and maybe his house key. That's
which he stored under the bike seat. Why would you do that?
Why would you store your bike outside if you had a perfectly good apartment to put it in? I mean, this is not the first time we've seen a motion detection camera. I think this is the first time we've seen one that actually took a picture, but no guide or anything. I just thought it was an interesting little story. But unfortunately, I do believe this reeks of, hey, guys, I made a thing and I need to come up with a story so I can show it off and maybe get some magic internet points. Strider, you got some quick thoughts?
Yeah, should we go back to our crow detector thing? Should we bring that up again?
No, we should go back to the guy who made the speed trap camera because he's that kind of neighbor.
Exactly. That was the same
guy in the neighborhood.
Right. He's the guy who doesn't get invited to parties. Okay, feedback real quick. You want to get in touch with us? Head over to linksgamecast.com, hit the contact button, select the bit, and let's get right into it. Pedro.
Indeed. Mr. Rob K had some SDL. So he would say I would love SDL2 support in Wine, but no. Currently, the best solution is Xbox DRV. Then drop the config file in whichever game you want playing. It's more hassle than it needs to be, unless I have missed something, but newbie when it comes to Wine configs. Don't blame you there. Wine, it's great. It's an awesome project, but it should not be necessary to play games anymore. But
Strider, this was something we talked about last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was it? Tell me about it. I forget. Squirrel.
It was it was because of the SDL2
controller configuration
thing. Yes.
Yes, it was. And by the way, I've downloaded it. It was not open source. I was kind of disappointed by this. I mean, Wine is making some progress with controller support. It is starting to accept like X input configuration. It doesn't map the controller's rights yet.
Yeah.
But it's making progress. So that's a good thing. Xbox DRV, it's still required for most of the things. Or you could use X input, CoQ X input Wine, which is what I use in Lutris.
Yeah. And that is actually what Rohit was suggesting in chat realm there. Wonder if you could put Wine in an SDL2 quote-unquote box that converts X input to SDL2. Yeah, that already exists. It's the Koku Wine wrapper, which does exactly what Strider said. Exactly what you said. It does just that. But yeah, Xbox DRV can be a bit of a pain to set up if you don't have an Xbox controller or a Logitech F370. So yeah, I get what you're going at, but yeah, Xbox DRV is still the best option.
Okay, we in Slice of Pie last week talking about somebody who said firecrackers are too dangerous, so let's start hacking up lithium-ion batteries because that's safer somehow. Tyler Roberts writes in, says, "Hey man, the cheapo cigarette-shaped e-cig cartridges have no battery. Hook up a pair of those to a 3.5 volt DC supply, and you'll get a stream of water vapor without any ion grenade futzing." Good point. Didn't think about that. He's talking about like the first gen, I guess they still sell them, where your actual cigarette-looking part is the battery, but you just have the atomizer on the end. So if you hook up the power to that, you could make your own homemade Raspberry Pi powered pretend explodey fire cracky thingy. But hey, we're done with this Linux weekly daily Wednesday thingy. We thank everyone who's helping to make the show possible. We love you. It's going to be brilliant. We'll be back next week for Saturday show this Saturday. Ironically enough, I think somewhere around 9:30. Special guest showing up. Stay tuned. Anyway, I'm at Vinstone on the Twitter nets plus Vinstone on the G+.
Yes, and make no mistake, Patreons, this show happens because of you. It's your fault.
Literally, it's a Patreon.
And you can find me at @unaccounted4 on Twitter or plus Matheus on Google+.
And I am Mathieu Commando. You can find me at Strikor on Twitter or plus Mathieu Commando on Google+. And also check out Lutris.
Lutris.
Yes.
Wait. You mean the thing that you're sitting to an angle just to show off that one?
Yeah, he's
Exactly.
slightly off to the
Bye,
side.
beautiful people.
Bye.
All right. Not too bad. 35-23.
Oh, we went longer than last week. Damn.
Well, we had more to talk about this week, too. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, today was a bit of one of those days because at 8 a.m. the window repair people kind of showed up. It was like, yeah, we need all the windows open.